are Thirsty for Knowledge Thursday. That's the weekly webinar series brought to you by the Ares Foundation for Financial Education, Inc. To go along with the whole American Rescue Plan, in case you didn't see it or didn't know, the IRS just extended the tax filing deadline. So instead of April 15th for this year, it is now Monday, May 17th. Or for those of us who like to procrastinate with our taxes, that's party on, dude. Party on, procrastinators, because that means we've got another month to delay in terms of filing. All right, so we're going to talk about pandemic unemployment assistance, which was really the first part that we were trying to deal with. But for the moment, what we're going to do is we're going to drop the P, okay? We're just going to talk about unemployment compensation. As a worker, you are actually not entitled to a benefit. You do not pay into any assistance or any fund whatsoever as a worker. The unemployment fund is a fund that is covered entirely by your employer. That's why you have to file for the benefit, because it's not a benefit that you're entitled to. It's also the reason that any compensation you get from unemployment is taxable to you. Let's put the pandemic unemployment assistance on that. So what that means is that if you got unemployment compensation last year, plus the $600 extra benefit, that was all taxable. What wasn't taxable last year was your stimulus checks. But you do owe taxes on any of the unemployment, whether that was regular unemployment compensation, PUA, or the extra 600, whatever it was, you do owe taxes on that. The American Rescue Plan, Biden signs this into law on 3/5/21. And what this says is that the first $10,200 of your unemployment insurance is now a deduction. Now, the other thing it added was a healthcare assistance piece, which is a little interesting because what it's saying is that if you were let go, laid off, or furloughed because of COVID-19, then you can actually continue with your health plan without having to go through COBRA. Unemployed and how that impacts your taxes. So one of the things that you do have available there is the earned income tax credit, right? So if your income was much lower in 2020 due to COVID, the furlough, whatever it may have been, right? Then you've got the ability to qualify for the EITC, as they like to call it, the Earned Income Tax Credit. You know, it depends on the filing status, but there is that Earned Income Tax Credit. Now, what I was talking about, I was sliding into the Savers Credit, right? So the other is that if your income is significantly lower and that you do file, you make a contribution, whether you make contribution to a retirement plan or an IRA, that you could get credit for that as part of it. So $1,000 for individual, $2,000 per couple. If you're in a job search, essentially, there are tax deductions that you can take as part of that job search. So when you're looking at job search, you know, certainly if you were or took any cost for putting together a resume, traveling to a job interview. Now, there wasn't a lot of traveling last year, so that's sort of, you know, out there. Just be aware that that has to actually be travel only to the job and back. Postage, if you're sending out, you know, snail mail, any postage that you used for sending stuff out, you can deduct that. If you were paying for a hiring employment agency, somebody to help you, you know, get your resume out, get you hired, you can write that off as well. All right, so the next stimulus is $1,400. Here's the statistic as you know, just in a recent poll that was done with the general public, asking them what do they plan to do with their stimulus check. 30% of the people said that they were going to use it to pay off debt. I'm taking care of some outstanding debt, which frees up liquidity and capital. 25% said they were going to put it into savings. But I think the pandemic, you know, the whole idea is making sure that there's money in the bank. Saving your stimulus check is a good thing to do.
It's a good thing, but I think it's more like, okay, what am I supposed to say? Right, I'm supposed to save that, right?
36% said they're going to spend it. It's meant to do that. That's actually what it's for. It's meant to pump up and build into the economy. That's what they want you to do with it. And almost 10% of the respondents said that they were going to invest it, i.e. Robinhood or buy Bitcoin. We always refer to the bucket strategy in terms of how you're putting it together. So that first bucket, that short-term number one, is really meant to be, at this point in existence, we're talking to people about 6 to 8 weeks of expenses. Coming out of the pandemic, we're coming out of quarantine. Right now, you really want to have about 8 weeks of expenses, 2 months of bills covered in an account in the bank. And if the $1,400 from the stimulus check can get you to that or get you close to it, that's where it should go. Buckets number 2 and number 3, midterm is more of that, what are you, in the mid-range, or I'm trying to save up for, whether that's, change of housing, upgrade a vehicle or transportation. And long-term, bucket number 3, is down the road. That's retirement. Depending on the age of the children, could be education funding. And so what you want to be doing is filling bucket number 1, adding bits to buckets number 2 and number 3, but making sure bucket number 1 gets filled first. And then once that's full and haven't had to tap into it, then focus all the funding to buckets 2 and 3. If you deplete out of bucket number 1, that needs to start getting filled back up again, but so that you always have that emergency reserve bucket filled, so you never wind up in the situation, and this gets us back into the whole cycle of debt and talking about having to use credit cards and other means to take on paying for stuff when it would have been okay to do it when we had the money in the bank.
Have questions? Ask us. We can help with that. You can email Craig at crichardson@aresfoundation.org, or you can visit the website to learn more about what we do and how we might be able to help you. www.aresfoundation.org. Want to see more of this recording? Go to www.aresfoundation.org/events. If you know an organization or community support group that could benefit from one of our workshops, reach out to Tom T. Alessi at aresfoundation.org. Our mission is trying to help everyone have a better relationship with their money.